Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Now I can hear you. At first it was muted.
Got that one. Okay. Okay, for that. So it is 6:02. We're gonna call the Emergency Management Committee to order, seven, in attendance. I have myself, Brenda Latimer, Joe Latimer, and Julie,
Andy Holling, Tracy Jeware.
and Stephanie from CA Solutions and Solutions. Okay, and then any additions or deletions to the agenda? I don't have any.
When'd you say you're starting? Huh?
8:02, I mean 6:02,
6:02.
sorry.
I've been like that since 8:02 is my.
So the next thing on our agenda is the invoice. It's included in your packet, we just
Yeah.
need to vote to approve.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve the Seam Solutions invoice in the amount of $660.
I'll second.
Agree? Any nays?
Aye. I'll say aye.
Sorry. Okay, do I need to sign this or I'm good? And then.
Yep, I can do that.
Take that,
Yeah,
take
that
that.
back to you.
Okay. There's no public comment. There's no public here for comment, so, our minutes, we need to approve the minutes. I had a question, the February 5th, we didn't have a meeting, but I included them here, do we have to approve those as well?
Minutes don't need to be approved at all.
Oh.
There's no open meeting law requirement to do it, like the select board never does it.
Oh,
We had a discussion a couple years ago, and that's how they chose to handle it. So it's a board by board decision. So some boards, if you want to make any changes, it has to happen in an open meeting, which is why I think a lot of boards keep it on there as a standing item. Because that just reminds them to review them.
Okay,
Because the select board have a paid clerk, I send them out, and if they want any changes, then I would put them on the agenda.
okay.
So.
We all look at them.
Yeah, I say we don't have to approve them going forward,
I'm
as long as we
good.
have a chance to look at it, and if we do see something we want to change, we can bring it up specifically at a
That's the
meeting.
hard part to remember.
Should I make a motion?
Yeah.
Yes, please, so.
I'll make a motion that we no longer approve meeting minutes, but they will get sent out.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That is all that I had for us, those housekeeping, and then, Stephanie, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Okay, sounds good. How do we want to do this evening? I can't remember how we did it last month by sharing that spreadsheet that I sent. Because with
Oh,
oh, can I share now?
I don't, know. Can you try to? I don't. So
I
let's,
just tried. Hopefully,
I think it's still gonna let you.
Okay,
okay. Oh, exciting.
Yeah. I had another demand that they needed that ability, and I'm like, oh.
There,
okay, we got it.
there. And just so my background is a sloth for some reason. That's why it's a little furry at the bottom. It
You
changes.
been to Costa Rica lately?
No, I have not. I would love to, though, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was working away and it changed on the background. I'm like, what is that? So anyway, we're getting down to the last few items. This is exciting. Last month we stopped. It looks like the LEMP. We got through the MRGP and we landed on incorporate updated flood and emergency planning information and town plan. Double check to see if it's current. I don't know. Is the town plan in process of being updated currently?
Not currently. It's, we don't need to update it until 2028. but the
Okay.
planning commission is going to start reviewing it probably this fall.
Okay. And so it'll probably
So
also,
that'll be a 1-year process, probably, more or less.
1 okay. And then, so usually you do the town plan first and then update any bylaws, is that correct? Or zoning?
Yeah, I mean, we've done some zoning bylaw updates. We've got some pending right now, more clarification type stuff rather than a major overhaul.
And then do you know if, I always have to look up these acts, if Act 121 and 181 are going to be looked at, which has to do with the floodplain statutes that were passed last year at the state
Well,
legislature?
I guess I can't answer specifically. What I can tell you is we have now seen the new FEMA maps
Okay,
for Northborough. We're in the review process. The town has until May 16th to issue our comments. And it's only for town officials to review at this point. At some point, there's gonna be an opportunity for public comment. And we've been told that they just won't become official until 2027.
correct.
So I don't know how that answers your question specifically about those acts, but
It's just, it's more regulation surrounding floodplain regulation
yeah.
and policy.
One thing we have learned, Stephanie, for what it's worth, the base flood elevation for Lake Champlain, which had been 102, is now 102.4. I don't know whether or not that's gonna have any kind of significant impact, but that change has been made.
Yeah. Has anyone seen the draft maps yet?
Yes, yeah, the Regional Planning Commission printed a poster size one out to us that we have in the office here, so. And again, it's only for viewing by town officials at this point.
Correct. I know of one town, I think it's Westmore, that also has a lake, much smaller lake, obviously, but they
Yeah.
are having some heartburn, I guess, I would say.
Yeah,
Anyway.
we didn't see anything that really jumped out as looking like it's out of line, but.
Okay,
you
that's
know,
good. That's good to
Yeah.
hear.
yeah.
Okay. So who will be taking on updating the town plan?
That'll be the Planning Commission.
And that is basically general town budget and volunteer?
Mostly volunteer. And hopefully we will get a grant to hire a facilitator, same as what we're doing with you, to help us through the process.
Is that usually through ACCD?
That's a possibility. It's probably gonna be through the Regional Planning Commission. They helped us with the last town plan update.
But the grant comes from ACCD.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm not sure where the grant comes from.
I think it does.
Okay, yeah.
Cool. So that's probably a fairly low cost, less than 50,000, you think?
Yes.
And then what do you think a priority would be on that? High, medium, or low?
Medium.
Cool.
Anybody wanna jump in? Just my opinion.
No, I agree.
Right, so stepping down to structure and infrastructure projects, consider purchasing Starlink as a backup internet and phone service.
That's not really under consideration right now, is it?
I don't know what it is.
I know residentially right now in Northborough, you can get a free system.
Starlink?
Yeah, I looked it up for our address.
Yeah, it's on there because we had talked about possibly looking into it in case something happens and we lose internet and phone services. That way we have guaranteed internet.
Just don't know how secure it is.
Because the phone system is VoIP. So it needs internet. So, yeah,
I think it was $144 for something like that for activation. And then all the equipment was free and you just gotta keep it for a year. I don't
so,
know if they'll do it for a business, but you just type in your address. There you go.
well, I mean, it's $144 for activation, what is it like a month?
120 a month
Hmm.
for the internet, but the speeds are high.
Mhm. I might just want that for its internet.
No, I was thinking about it, 'cause we got teenagers. And everything in our house is streamed,
Mhm.
so we're watching TV, it's streaming. When we watch 4 or 5 TVs, they're all streaming.
Yeah,
So we got, we
Mhm.
don't have a LAN service, it's starting,
That's totally-
You like it?
I think it's starting, get the white square rectangular antenna up on the roof, I'm pretty sure it's starting. I don't
Yeah.
take care of that. Financial aspect of it, so.
I mean, if
Um,
if this committee thinks that it's important for the town to have internet backup, then we could put it as a to-do,
We can at least fire.
And, if it was just a conversation that we had at one point. I remember that, so that's why I put it there. But if you think it might be cost prohibitive, it doesn't have to stay on there.
Yeah, right now for the town.
I don't know.
Please,
Right, exactly. But so it would be,
Or maybe I'll put it out there, maybe consider alternative internet, because you could always do a MiFi. I believe Verizon still has those.
I believe the bill is around 300, I mean, we get like 5 or 6 different Comcast bills. All the different departments have different internet, some are phone and some are internet, so. I think the one that's internet for this building is about $360 a month. So this would be another $120 a month just for backup,
yeah,
so.
I don't think that you could just substantiate it now. It would have to be a pretty disastrous situation where
Yeah.
you need to,
probably wouldn't be worth holding it back up the whole, all the time.
yeah. But there again.
Especially since if we had a natural disaster, I'm pretty sure we could call Starlink and they'd probably give us one real quick to set up anyways. Or we could go to Tracy's and steal his.
yeah.
Come up with a mutual aid agreement to utilize it.
AI is like $250 per month with a one-time hardware cost of $1.
What is it?
$250 a month for businesses. Now, this is AI, so it could be wrong, but this is,
Just use-
and this, so it starts at $250 per month and a one-time hardware cost of $2,500.
Wow.
Yeah. Worth it, scratch it.
Probably the only other time you've ever lost. Internet services or any type of real services back in there, still in the 90s, whatever that was, 7.
Well, we use internet now and then. I say once a year all the time.
Is it because we lose power or?
No, weird things just
Is it?
happen, like,
Oh.
even when we were at the school, we had fiber, there was that fire underneath the fiber line. And fiber takes longer to restore, we were out of internet for a day,
Well,
no phones, no nothing.
hmm,
Right, yeah, it's kinda nice. But,
Till the next
um,
day.
that's the most memorable one, but it feels like we get, like Comcast was recently coming through doing upgrades. And we lost internet once a week for a few hours for like a month. And they kept closing the store, because if you use internet, you can't process credit cards or anything. So, but again, I mean, to have to have that ongoing perpetually, just for,
Backup.
yeah.
And that would be more for probably your benefit than anybody has town clerk, town treasurer, town office.
Maybe, I mean, from
Yeah.
a store's perspective, like, they're
personally-
losing dollars, whereas we just
Yeah.
use our cell phones.
That's personally at public works, department wouldn't.
Yeah,
get that.
yeah, I see what you mean.
Without that.
You know-
For your operations here.
Because we've talked about what would happen if the internet was out, we could process payroll, or, we've just been lucky, it's never happened on those days.
That's what I usually do.
Yeah.
Option consideration anyways, probably.
I mean, I wouldn't use it backup, but I would, if I were looking to move completely with Starlink, that would be better than just spending that money for backup, but. Yeah, okay. I mean, I use my cell phone.
Either way, we don't need that much of a bill for just something that's gonna sit there.
As a backup, right?
Right, either way, you're gonna have to have one of them as a backup and they're both expensive, so.
So if we use Starlink, it's just as likely to have periodic outages. So,
It's all satellite oriented, so.
yeah.
Now, during COVID, when you had to run transactions, how did that work? Did everybody work from home, or did you kind of take turns and people came in?
So the assistant wanted to work from the office, so she stayed at the office with the doors locked, and I worked from home.
And then people could come in and pay for
No,
things?
the doors were locked, so they would call, they would use the Dropbox. It was only like 2 or 3 months.
Gotcha.
It's not memorable, so it must not have been a big deal.
Right. You were able to function,
Yeah. Yeah,
which, I can't remember if I put it on there or not. Does the town have a COOP plan, a continuity of operation plan?
so we created one during COVID and it was specific to COVID. Overall, no.
Gotcha, but it's probably workable for any type of,
Probably just pull it up, change the heading,
yeah.
so.
What do you think?
Yeah.
I'll have,
What did you call it? Continuity
It's a
of
COOP.
operations?
I call it a COOP.
Yeah, I call it. something
Continuity of
else.
operation plan.
Yeah,
So basically, what is your plan if you physically lose the building? How do you continue to conduct business so you can generate income for the town?
That's above my pay grade. Corinne?
uh,
What do we do?
put everything in the Dropbox.
Yeah.
What do we do, Corinne?
From my standpoint, everything went smoothly. Our boards all met via Zoom.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that all kept going.
So you figured it out. So am I hearing that the Starlink thing is gonna be a scratch?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say scratch it for now.
I probably have a lot of versions of continuity of operation plans in here. Must have just blocked it all out.
Is that something you'd like to put on as a possible action item to formalize it more, or?
I mean,
Is
me
it-
personally, no, but
Is that
I
a
mean, that's.
necessary thing? Is it mandated by?
I mean, I'm looking at this folder and I managed to put together one and update it monthly for months, so I've got like 30 versions in here. You know, it's the type of thing where if we create a continuity of operations plan, we don't know what the parameters are, like this one was created specifically for COVID. Yeah. I'll do whatever.
And again, that's probably the only time the office is ever shut down
Yeah,
for any term.
For a long period, yeah.
Like a natural disaster, like the ice storm or, you know.
That's fine. I'm just throwing out
Yeah.
suggestion. So stepping down to partnering with V-Trans to install, let me make this bigger. You probably can't see anything on here. Is that better? Can you see that?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Okay. So partner with V-Trans to install snow fencing in locations of known drifting issues. I think there was some discussion on the practicality of this.
Right, we brought that up the last meeting.
Yeah,
I was getting in touch with. I was to get in touch with the V-Trans about something.
so do you think that's another scratch, or do you think that still have a conversation about it?
No reason why why we can't contact them and have a conversation.
Yeah.
about it.
Have a conversation, whether we'd actually act on it or not, that'd be another total story, but.
Yeah, may as well talk to them.
Might be worth it. Even from your standpoint, to get permission and the spots that really cause you trouble for plowing. And see if we can put snow fence up. That would really help too.
Is FEMA gonna look for a certain number of things for us to do?
No, so the way I actually, I don't know if you heard Sean, I think it was a couple months ago, kind of commiserate about getting a plan approved with the new rules. So I actually got one approved this week. So
Woo!
I'm
Great.
excited. I know what the new rules are
Great.
this week. It could change.
Yeah.
The way I had to frame it was, so even though we're focusing on these top three, wind, ice, and invasive species, we have to at least go into a description of how the other hazards may affect the town, even as little as it might. And then in some cases, so looking at the past hazard, so flooding is not necessarily considered a high hazard in the new table. We have to kind of go into detail about why it isn't and actually identify possible mitigation to prevent future flooding. But it's not anything like what we're going through with these. So,
Yeah.
it worked. And it's kind of, it's different, that's for sure. So yeah. So basically the way it has to be framed is, I believe, at least the top three have to have an action identified for it. And then there has to be an action in each of these headings, the local plans and regulations, structure, infrastructure, natural systems protection, and outreach and education. So
Yeah.
does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
No,
Thank you.
but it could change. Who knows?
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
Not. Yeah, it'll be interesting. So that's probably the snow fence is probably a lower, let's see, if I can- lower priority.
Yeah, that was related to the wind, wasn't it? That
Yeah.
was one of our top three. There's a potential mitigation.
So wind, ice, and invasive species.
Mhm.
And I think we have ice, wind, and invasive species kind of almost go hand in hand, especially with the, the tree situation. So we definitely have it covered there. So anything above and beyond, I think, would be good.
Yep.
So road crew, probably low cost, using town resources. By the end of 2025, you think?
You'll have the conversation this year, probably.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
have conversation, sure. Actual. Action on it. I mean, are you looking for the actual action too, or just like a time frame of
Just,
conversation to take place to see what can and cannot be done type of scenario?
Yeah. I
Okay.
think is it vague enough that you can be successful?
Yep.
Okay, yes, 2025. Public Works will take
Yeah,
care of that.
Say before winter.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, right?
Yeah,
Alright.
just wait till dress in the road and then. Wait them to call.
A little bit harder to put snow fence in them, but you can drive T-posts. I know how to do it.
Partner with V-Trans, DEC, to finish tree trimming and right away along electrical transmission lines.
So that I think again was just a conversation.
Yes, last meeting, we were gonna get in touch, or I was gonna get in touch with Craig or tree warden
Yeah.
in regards to what Vermont Electric had for a
The plan.
vegetation plan, correct?
Mm.
I'll follow up and do that with this.
In 2025. Before winter.
Really?
I'm teasing you.
Well, I think we had.
See how I said.
Last time too, didn't we?
No, it won't be 2025.
But Tracy,
In fact,
we answered a lot of these questions last meeting.
yes.
Yeah, so, well, we had it as develop the plan to partner with BEC to develop the vegetation plan, and then under structure and infrastructure, it's actually implementing that
Right.
plan.
Now I wanna know when. They're giving us a timeline. Or they want us to give them a timeline.
To
And-
implement and
So I've
2026.
identified the tree warden as the lead. Would this be part of Public Works, you think, to actually implement the?
Yes. Maintenance. Maintenance group.
It's uniforms accidentally came with maintenance instead of public works.
All maintenance.
These guys are okay.
Will this will come out of the highway budget, or is there any line item for?
We have a line item for trees.
Tree trimming.
It's in the highway budget, that was,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I just leave on highway, gives you more flexibility.
Now. Cost, will this be, do you think this will be under 50,000?
Yes.
Well, if it says partner with V-Trans, the idea with partnering is we ask them to do it.
At least a portion.
Along the right of ways, yeah.
Yeah, I guess anything they don't do, we have to do. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, I'll rephrase this one. It's not phrased very well, but the idea is to develop a vegetation plan utilizing VEC's best practices and then implement, but also partnering, because you want V-Trans to do their right away.
Right.
Well, VEC has their own right of way underneath all of their lines also.
Yeah.
That's really nothing to do with them.
And I thought, I think it
100%.
said, V-Trans wasn't gonna do anything until the tree fell
It's
over
fine.
and they were just gonna push it out of the way.
Right, well, and also lines only go by one side of the road, so we're stuck with anything they don't do. Is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our trees all across there. Yes. Mhm.
Do the VEC lines run along the highway? Let me rephrase that, the town roads?
Yes,
some of
Yeah.
them, not all town roads, though,
A lot of them.
yeah.
Anybody who has power, it goes down the road, really.
yeah, we don't have any undergrounds.
And maybe, at least, so that's 2027, so that'll be 2028. So it might be, having that conversation about planning, if you think you're gonna go along and trim certain areas, or do you not trim under VEC's right away now? Because you know that they're going to do it.
We take care of the town right away. But within the town right away falls their power lines, so try to put it off onto them. Try to defer the cost to another party, but
Right, so if you knew what their schedule was, then you wouldn't head and trim along that, so.
right.
I guess when you call them, you probably should write down some of these questions. And that way you can get answers of what they are willing to do, and what they're willing to help with. I mean, even if they have a plan,
Maybe they have a
Forgive me.
schedule.
we could get a copy of their plan. It might give us a direction for our town plan.
So I think we had V-Trans in the plan piece up above too.
Mhm.
Do we want to take V-Trans out of this piece, the actual? Because I think, like you said, that they pretty much, they're only gonna cut when they see it, when it's fallen. They're not gonna be proactive. Is that correct?
That's what we've heard.
So do you want to keep V-Trans in that piece, or do you want to?
One number to call, Tracy, or two?
Say that again.
So do you want one number to call or two?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should leave V-Trans in the mix. Cause let's just assume you see a tree in there right away that looks like it's in danger of falling over. You could call them and say, come take care of this tree, right? Rather than
Right.
doing it yourself, so.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Do they give more credence to public works? People than like angry
Thanks, Scott.
customers?
They might actually change their plan and just push them to the side of the road too, as these trees start falling.
Yeah,
It's not a very, very
That's
proactive
retrans
plan.
is
No,
frontage,
it
yeah.
wasn't. This is just if it falls, they're
Cause
gonna push
they're
it
gonna
out
have a
and
lot
that's
of
it.
places where there's not power lines and trees are still coming down.
Oh, yeah. Kind of a fine line with anybody. Nobody wants to take the brunt of the cost of anything,
well, yeah,
right?
understandable, but
Especially when
Yeah.
you're talking. Like VEC, where they got miles of lines and millions of dollars worth of
yeah.
tree awareness to.
Towns end up with all the problems that aren't solvable by the open market, but ideally you wait and see what is and
Yeah.
isn't solvable, and if they had to come and do it, you'd be like, yeah. So,
So I have in here, there's a line item in this year's budget for the Emerald Ash Borer, $10,000.
that's the tree removal line item.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not.
Not specifically for Emerald
I mean, we increased it because the Emerald Ash Borer used to be what, 1,000? It was something minuscule.
10,000 and,
That's what,
Just
no,
recently.
when I came on the board, we moved it to 10,000. I think it was 1,000 before that.
oh.
And we bumped it up because of
I
that.
know, we bumped it up another 5, but I think, like she said. There's a line item now for Emerald Ash Borer trimming. Which I wasn't really,
Hmm.
I'd have to look at it. I wasn't aware of their separate line item just specifically for the Emerald Ash Borer, just
Yeah.
the tree trimming.
Me neither, but that would be, what Lisa, like, we could have happened, and I'm not aware, so.
And so do you think? I think we had implement a best practices manual, but I think can be combined with this one. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah,
Mhm. Yes,
Sounds the same.
So from the old plan, there was construct a new firehouse.
Yep, that's supposed to happen next year. Goal is
so we
by,
get funding.
well, they're just planning a bond for it, so the bond passes, the goal is by November 2026.
Perfect. So that's gonna be a bond
Yes,
plus other funding,
Mhm.
or is it totally bonded?
no, there's $886,000 in reserves, but it's a $5 million project, so.
Fundraising is. Also,
And is the fire chief in charge of that project, or is the select board?
Select board, it's a town-owned building.
And that's definitely over 100,000.
Yes,
Look at that.
we wish it wasn't.
Yeah.
No, that's combined though, right? Fire station, public works,
Mhm.
yeah.
And they don't have final bid numbers yet.
Mhm.
So that's. So it's combined with a new public works building?
Yes, the buildings themselves aren't combined, the project is combined. So it'll be 2 new buildings, but we were told we could save 20% if we did them at the same time. Which on a $5 million project is,
A lot of money.
yeah,
Same site or different sites?
same site. We share a parking lot. It's like a big parking lot, and to the north is fire, and to the south is public works.
Would you say this is a high priority?
For the town, yes. Tracy does not work in a nice building.
I would not recommend, I don't know if I said this before, getting the V-Trans salt shed funding.
Really?
I just did one for another town, and at the end of the day, see, the V-Trans requires that you hire a design firm to design a salt shed,
Okay.
which costs a lot of money. Now, granted, the town that I just worked with on this, they changed their mind. It was a change in the select board, so they went from a huge, I think it was 40 by 60, ended up being like a 20 by 30, something like that. And their portion would have paid for the construction of it.
You mean the design firm's portion?
So how do it was way over budget. It cost, I mean, I can send you some details if you'd like, some
I
generic
would really
details.
like that, if you're willing, yeah.
So
Yeah.
there are some free plans available, and I did get another town to send me their plans that V-Trans provided,
Yep,
but you couldn't get the funding to build it. You had to build it on your own.
interesting. So you either use their free money and you're required to hire a design firm, or you use their free plans and you build it on your own. And you probably make out better if you
Mhm.
build it on your own.
Yeah,
In my opinion.
probably cost you almost double to do it with a designer.
I mean, they
This is
spent,
very good information, Stephanie, thank you.
yeah, they spent well over, I'll have to go back through the numbers, but I want to say the initial design was somewhere in the $40,000 to $50,000 range for, concrete hip walls and then a wood structure.
Interesting.
But I can send you some information on that.
The one they just built up there to State Shed is over $500,000.
That's crazy, but the state's mandating them now, aren't they? Is that,
According to a conversation I had with Don just the other day, no,
then we shouldn't,
not unless you recognize that you have a stormwater runoff hazard, which our town does not.
okay.
I think I just really,
Well, because they had to have a design firm design.
Correct.
I think I calculated the square foot cost of the salt shed, and it was something. I think the cost of a house right now is I can't even remember the numbers. I'll go back through but I just remember it was ridiculous. And it would be interesting to find out how other towns experiences
Yeah.
with that program. And then I can send you the free plans that another. I'll do
I can
that.
find out, South Hero
That'd be
just,
great.
South Hero just built one also, I can find out more details,
Mhm.
what size and how they did it, because I know they designed their own.
Mhm. Interesting. Okay. That'll be
Yeah.
good too.
Yeah.
So from the past plan was the 2019 MRGP program. So I would imagine that's ongoing.
Yes.
And so I believe by 2027, a re-inventory has to be done. Is that correct?
I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure either. Of the timeframe. 2027 sounds familiar for something, but I'm not 100% sure of what.
Yeah, I believe, and then that there's grant money available. To hire, I'm not sure if you hired the RPCs the first time to do the inventory for you.
We did.
Yes.
Yeah. So probably can add that up here too, because update the information. If I can spell. Do you think you'll hire the RPCs again?
I don't know, Tracy, you want?
Yeah, actually, I just met with them.
Road inventory?
Sure.
You're volunteering to do the road inventory? No, no, I'm clarifying why you said yes.
Well, I thought you said we're using NRPC again.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Okay.
just met with them regarding the whole. MRGP. Grant, this the other day.
Okay.
Yes. Road inventory,
Road erosion inventory, so it's hydrologically connected segments of road that need to be upgraded.
right, I can print you off a map. of what
But
they
she's
have.
saying that they're gonna require that be re-inventoried. So right now we have an inventory and they're gonna require it be redone by 2027.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
by 2027, yeah.
yeah. And then we want
Because
to hire
these-
an RPC to do that.
But then after this guy to upgrade what's not upgraded already.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
get a
so
new-
he's
I get a
like
new
in
guy
other
working,
segments,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, so I can't wait. What do we do here, what do we do here, what do we do this, how do we get this upgraded, and what do we,
Yeah.
yes. Fine with that, too.
So he's helping you identify segments to address this year.
Correct,
Yeah, I think she's talking about a whole system wide
and, yeah,
re-inventory, yeah.
So I've added that up here, the MRGP re-inventory. So will this be in conjunction with the, oh wait, I already have it in there. Never mind. Jeez. Never mind. So but the upgrade,
Validating when you do something the same time,
Yeah.
then you know that's really where it should go. I think, I do that all the time.
yeah, so yeah, I got it now. So this is
Yeah.
this is the actual inventory data. And then the implementation is under the structures and infrastructure. So that's an ongoing project. Is
You
that,
know, are they requiring a re-inventory in 2027 because they want a final count of what segments are outstanding before we get towards the deadline?
I believe so. I mean,
Yes. Yeah,
if you're, and maybe things have changed. I know towns that previously had in some areas and not up in your area that I've heard, they had the RPCs do it the first time. And they are going to do it, the towns themselves are gonna do it the second time because they feel that it's questionable assessment,
oh, interesting.
all in the eye of the beholder kind of thing, so. And then I believe the towns have the ability to update as they're upgrading the system, so. Once they complete the projects, they go in and update the information, so.
yeah, he said we could do that.
Yeah, I think the state took over the process 2 years ago, and since then, the expectation has been that towns will. They basically took out the NRPCs. NRPCs have, well, ours is called NRPCs, so the regional, the RPCs statewide. A lot of them have offered the ability to continue providing that service to towns, but it's like you have to pay extra for it. So I'm not surprised, two things there, that their towns may want to be doing it themselves as they're learning how to do it, and they're thinking, oh, well, we can just save the money that we're paying in RPC. And I would imagine what you referred to earlier with towns finding inventories questionable, and RPC may be using more stringent guidelines than perhaps
towns.
can get away with, to, which means less work and less overall expense, so. Yeah. But, yeah, it's a whole thing, though, you gotta learn the inventory system, you gotta have the right technology and. Yeah,
Right.
material's not there yet.
And, you know, some of it, I don't know how detailed you've gotten into the actual assessment. It could change. I mean, especially after the flooding, not necessarily in your area, in other areas, it changes the whole dynamics of some roads.
Yeah,
And then, but it could change week to week based on how a road is being graded, or, I mean, you know, how steep your grade is that week. If somebody's new on the grading machine and does something a little bit different. So I think it's a very interesting assessment process that is subject to constant change. So moving on to installing lightning protection and surge suppression protection on critical facilities, and that's coming from the past plan. That sound familiar to anybody?
No, we did talk about it. Weren't you gonna check to see if we actually had those on our buildings?
Right, surge suppression.
Yeah.
right.
I don't know, is that something that like for a building the size of the hall, that would have to be kind of, I don't even know the words, this is how little I know about it, but I'm imagining it's kind of like how you go in the maintenance room and all the things that make the building work.
Yeah, typically
Thermal
that's where,
systems.
yeah, typically
Yeah.
that's where it's installed, right, in your main
Yeah.
service panel.
No, I hear explanation,
Says that
so I'm gonna use.
Doohickey goes.
This-
So what are we after on that? Just a plan?
So this
Or,
is past plan. I was wondering if there was more information on it, but no.
So what, we're sitting here not knowing why that was originally a concern, but
Yep.
knowing it, or assuming it didn't get addressed, and we have to decide if it's still a concern.
Correct.
And I would say, yeah, if buildings aren't surge protected, they should be. I mean, I know people in town who've lost entire furnaces from a lightning strike.
Mhm.
So, let's just put it in there, and a
Yeah.
to-do item could be just to at least confirm if we have
Confirm.
it or not.
Yeah,
Because
No.
it doesn't really, wind really won't have an impact, even though it's listed in the past plan. It says severe thunderstorm, so it applied to high wind, lightning, and hail. But in my opinion, and I am no electrician, I believe the lightning protection and surge suppression is only for a lightning strike, and that doesn't apply to your top three. So maybe
Right.
just confirm whether or not that those were installed.
Yeah, we can do that.
yeah.
Confirm whether the buildings currently have.
Because we have new buildings since 2019.
And that's pretty easy, because we are supposed to meet at least once a year to review these. And that'd be really easy to go, yep, we did that, check it off.
Yeah, give ourselves some low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So who's gonna do that?
Maintenance guy.
I see here the select board and the highway road foreman.
Yeah, them.
Yeah.
But
So I just volunteered you.
Select board, yep.
Wait, can you do the room, volunteer?
Public Works.
Public Works,
Public
Somebody
Works.
volunteered right in front of me.
No, don't you figure that me anyways.
and then that'll,
You going anyway?
for the end of the year.
Yeah,
MRGP participation. I mean, that's definitely ongoing and I can add the information from there. And then consider river stream buffer. So I think, like we were discussing at first, the town plan's going to be updated and probably coming in compliance with the new legislation
Mhm.
for the flood statutes. I'll add some language on that. Now, would the planning commission be in charge of that?
Yes.
Okay. So we also talked about, we're going down into the outreach and education programs. We talked about education and outreach for emerald ash mitigation for homeowners, coming up with some best practices recommendations. Would that be the tree warden? Well, I guess my first question is, do you want to keep that as an action?
He's, Fred said that he had done a lot of outreach already. The thing that we were talking about as far as education is, education on the trees becoming dangerous.
Mm.
Don't they look fine, but they're styrofoam?
Yeah, basically,
Yeah.
yeah,
Go quick.
yeah.
I wonder if we could get the state arborist, what's her name, Nancy Patch, to maybe do some kind of a public meeting where, you
Or
know,
just a PSA and we can put it on the website.
yeah, yeah.
Which one?
Okay, so is anybody picking up on the fact that the camera is picking up Abe Lincoln in the corner?
Oh, yeah, no, he's a regular attendee to our meetings, so, yeah,
He moves around the room too.
yeah, he does.
You go there somewhere.
like Elf on the Shelf.
I think yoga does that. I think they get a kick out of him.
Like, what? And he disappeared. Oh my God. Oh,
very-
freaky.
Yes, he is.
Say about the education front porch forum.
Yeah, website from which one? I think people would appreciate that, actually.
Yeah, because you don't, I mean, they look fine. but
Right.
like Craig was saying, we just could go.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
And it takes me like 2 minutes to put something on the website, so
Yeah.
if it's already created.
Just check them.
We got one that's just slowly getting closer to the garage roof. And I can tell it's going.
If it
It's
just
ash.
slowly lands
Yeah.
on the garage roof, and it's.
It's not gonna, it's this big around,
No.
so when it slowly lands, it's gonna do damage. So
Yeah.
I gotta get up there with the rope, 40-foot ladder and tie it. Something to the tractor.
Or get in the garage.
And then I'm gonna have to involve Dad, which is always dangerous.
Hey,
Like that.
cracking me up. So, something that we talked about earlier was monitor VT alert and make sure information is going out to the community, because I think you use another method to push out information. Is that correct?
We do use BT alert. We don't really have to use it very often because the state's using a lot and doing it a lot for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm
scratch-
not sure what that one is, because we use VT alert.
Okay,
Yeah, I got a
Yeah.
test message from them today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we had a water break yesterday.
Yeah, I had a water
We
break.
all got messages.
Yeah.
I need to sign us up for that, because that's the only thing I haven't done.
Right.
Here I am pushing BT alert, and we're not even on the water. I'm like, I don't know they're flushing water lines.
Do we want to keep it in as just an ongoing?
Sure.
What is the goal of that one to?
Uh,
uh,
I
Like,
can't-
but
Maybe,
you know, that's kind of monitor VT alert, so are we wanting to confirm, like do random sampling once in a while to confirm people are getting their messages? Or are we wanting to make sure that we're actually using it to send information? Or like set parameters for sending information, because we have struggled with that in the past.
Okay.
Like when to use it, when not to use it. We have an in-house network that we will only use for water emergencies, and then if we have a system-wide emergency, we use this people who've enrolled through the state. So that can be a little confusing. And then we get people that contact us and say, hey, use VT alert, because they love the whole like text thing. It looks so easy. They want to use it, and we're always like, nope, I can't. So I don't know. But to make sure the information is going out, every single alert, it says hit yes to confirm, and we get a report of how many people have done that.
gotcha.
And you know, it's reliant on user feedback, so it's not great, but I mean, I think it's working.
Mhm.
Okay, so, and I can't remember the details. I thought I remember a discussion saying that you had something else, but it doesn't sound like I captured that correctly, so.
And this meeting is.
Yeah,
not
I think
so-
there's something else is the way we specifically use it for the water system.
Okay,
It is VT alert,
Yeah.
but it's not VT alert at the same time. It's VT alert, but it's like an offshoot. of
So,
VT
yeah,
alert.
VT alert allows us to use the system, but we have to maintain a user database.
Yeah,
And there's like a separate way we go in, and every time we go in, we have to acknowledge that we're responsible for how we're using it and blah, blah, blah.
and then
That's
you
work.
use
Yeah,
a
it
different
works.
system for the water, wastewater, or the water system, is that correct?
No, and that's what's difficult, okay, so. The system is called Everbridge, and we're allowed to use Everbridge to send out notices. And the state of Vermont also uses Everbridge to send out notices. The difference is who's controlling the database of users that are getting the notices. So when we use Everbridge, we're going into the municipal portal, going to the town of North Hero, and we've created our own database of users. When an alert is going out under the name VT alert, that's what the state of Vermont has called their notification system through Everbridge. And those users are people who have signed up through the VT alert website for specific notices. So that's why it's confusing, is they're both Everbridge, they look exactly the same. If you're an authorized user, you have to be very careful of which database you're using. We can set up as many databases as we want, like the city of Montpelier has used it to set up multiple tiers for their different, like, fire districts and water systems and, so that's probably way more than you all wanted to know.
It's interesting, I didn't, yeah,
think of it as it's VT alert, but it's like two different branches of VT alert.
Well, so it's kind of like, they just call it VT, it's like a marketing thing,
Mhm.
you know, but VT alert is really their database of users. And they're saying, we're gonna use your information in this scenario. And so we started calling ours water alerts because we were calling them VT alert, not realizing
It was
and it was confusing users too. So, but we could set up water alerts, we could set up like picnic notifications, we could set up, but, you know, and some people want that. They're like, you know, I get alerts for water, why won't you tell me when there's a tree in the road, you know? And Isle of Mont uses it for things like that. So every municipality is,
Yeah, I get theirs right on it.
yeah,
Yeah, they do really good with theirs.
Who's in charge of that?
no.
The EM.
Isle of Mont, No.
No, no,
Oh.
no. No, sure, who's in charge of like sending out the notification, like say, for instance, water line break, yes,
Oh,
is that
That
something?
water's
I-
not me.
Yeah, water would be Lisa, but I'm a backup.
She
She's
gets
the water credit supervisor.
Notify that there's a water leak, water leak, and she has to go.
Yep, There's like, it's kind of like the LEMP, there's
Check
here,
out the
you know.
note that goes out through certain.
Yeah.
I didn't get that, I got the call for a big.
I guess I need to add Lisa on there too. There's
So,
Edie's on there can give water.
Not that I need it.
And Kevin, and then this is different, so this would be us.
Hmm.
For the BT alert versus the water notices.
What, like, for instance, you said a tree in the road,
That would be one of,
yeah, but I didn't.
you want it, we'll sign you up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Other than the big safe call yesterday, that's.
so you do have to sign up through the state to receive notifications, and the state's really good, especially with hazardous weather. They'll send notifications out for that.
Or car accidents, road closures.
Yep,
Yep.
road
They're
closures,
good
they're
for those.
wonderful with road closures.
Saved me a couple times.
so is that V-Trans that sends out the road closure, or is that Vermont Emergency Management, or is that?
Yeah, I bet you, that's why you were probably better at getting some notices through the state than others, because it probably depends on the department and how they manage it.
Yeah, because I get a lot that, for St. Albans, because I've added that into my little group, because that's the way I drive.
Mhm.
So they send them out all the time when they've got something going on.
They probably have somebody assigned in their staff to do that job.
I very
Yeah.
rarely get them very rarely, sometimes I do, but
Yeah, well, because nobody here does that. Like I would only do a VT alert.
Who physically does?
See, I would only do that if Brandy had told me to. So I,
and, I mean, I have access to do it if I know about it. Or we can even call, you can even call
Yeah.
EM and ask them to send out an alert and they'll do it.
Well, like yesterday, somebody called somebody about the water, that's when you get the call,
mhm. Well,
saying there's a
Lisa
water
did,
leak,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Relax.
I'm just keeping you on track.
I know you're keeping us on track, but we're trying to figure this out. Cause it's,
That's not good.
it's,
Yeah, we can talk about it.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
but it is different, so.
Yeah, I'd like to come back to that one, or at least recommend that you meet with the BT alert person, but maybe it takes, maybe figuring out reconcile.
Like, so I guess that's why I'm so like curious why that's up there. We did a whole project, like this was a thing, and I feel like it's resolved. So I'm kind of
Fine, we
wondering,
can
like,
check that.
what, am I wrong? Is there something else happening? But we like
Audit team
exported
does
the
it.
whole,
Yeah.
it was like a project, we
There's
exported the
obvious
whole
systems in
database
place that
and
you-
like reformatted everything and put it back in, and we made a really clear division. And we did those updates in the tax bills and, yeah.
We could be better about sending things out if there is a tree in the road, but I wouldn't know that unless I actually saw the tree in the road, then I could do it, but I'm
Yeah.
not notified.
I mean, the health officer note asked me, said, hey, can we send out BT alerts for cyanobacteria blooms? And I was like, well, there's nobody, like, I'm taught on how to do it, but mostly for the water. Like, I wouldn't want to start using the VT alert side for things without your
And-
input.
And I had said, and Desiree has access to it,
Mm.
cause I talked to, I talked to VEM when they're the VT alert trainer, and he actually sent me examples from, Burlington, where they use it for the cyanobacteria.
So what I'm hearing, Stephanie, is that what we need to confirm is who does emergency management alerts? It sounds like we have water totally down pat, and we've made a clear division of water and emergency management, but nobody is really managing the emergency side of VT alert.
We have,
Is, like, we've got people designated,
Yeah.
but just through this conversation, we're not clear who's supposed to issue what when. So.
I mean, I don't mind issuing them, I just don't know about them. That's the
Right.
thing.
Okay. So, but that should probably be like a procedure somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, or part of the LEMP or like. Yeah,
So maybe it's not scratch, maybe it's workout.
maybe. Yeah, because monitor BT alert, we'll just have the same conversation. in 2 more months if we don't clarify that, I think.
So
Um,
clarify.
clarify who sends, emergency management alerts through Everbridge.
Put somewhere in there in parentheses so that I remember, that is BT alert, because I will never remember as Everbridge.
So Everbridge, so it sounds like Everbridge internal or town generated database.
I mean, BT alert is Everbridge, so.
I'm just asking so I know,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
honestly,
Everbridge.
I won't remember this, that I always see BT
Yeah.
alert, I don't see the
So,
Everbridge.
yeah, that's still gonna be confusing to people. Clarify process, for emergency
Notifications.
for emergency notifications through BT alert.
Or you can say Everbridge and put BT alert parentheses.
Yeah,
That way both names are in there for people that only recognize one.
Yeah, that's better. Let me see, noted.
Put Everbridge in parentheses, is that what I'm,
BT alert.
BT alert,
just
Is it-
take out Everbridge?
no, just leave Everbridge as the main and put BT alert in the parentheses.
Gotcha.
Perfect.
And it is 7. As my secretary is reminding me.
So, so we just have 1, 2, 3 left to do. Two of them came over from the past plan that might not be relevant to the current. No, I'm sorry. So do we want to schedule for next month, one last time, and hopefully I can start. So I've got 6 plans that I'm currently working on because the deadline for those grants are September 2025. So it's probably going to be a few weeks before I start pulling everything together for your plan.
Where ours isn't.
Yeah, what are the 3 items that we still have to address?
So one of them was school crisis education.
We don't have a school anymore, so,
No, we're still good.
So that one's good.
yeah,
No school in North Hero anymore.
So not relevant.
right.
Kids don't go to school in North Hero anymore.
They closed down the school.
School's closed.
Yeah. Well, as of it's open right now, as of next school year.
The
It's,
next school year, it won't open.
Well, that affects my LEMP. That's what I don't know.
Yeah.
And how does that affect our, never mind.
yeah. And so what's the next one, Stephanie?
So community education on how to prepare for events. Basically, it was severe winter conditions, severe winter storm,
Like
ice storm.
Flyers like you
Yeah.
did for
Yeah,
the
the-
eclipse.
Yeah, we just need to find canned information from the state and just have a process for regularly putting it
Yeah,
out there.
they have one.
Yeah.
We can just pull and put on there, so
Okay.
yeah.
So that'll be an action item.
And get. And who will take that on as,
I can pull the canned flyers.
Yeah, let's do EMD in town office.
Yeah.
We'll help distribute it if she gets the information.
town funding? Timeline? Been 3 years?
Yeah, I would say that's ongoing.
Yeah.
Shouldn't that be
Yeah.
something we, like,
Should be ongoing.
I'm imagining we come up with procedures for like every June we issue this and every September we issue that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, like
just remind people, yeah.
And stuff, and cold, and yeah,
clean out your dryer vents and check your
yeah.
fire alarms.
And what's the last one?
Last one was outreach and education to school, campground, and single access road homes on risk of hazards. And I think that had to do with if their road was cut off for some reason. And I believe you were talking about there's one road that is low lying and sometimes floods.
Holiday Point.
Holiday Point, and then we've also added the point to our LVP, just because it is a single access road that does have a culvert. That was suggested by the BDM, which doesn't matter, I mean, it's just, that's an element.
For that, creating
Yes.
a BT alert for them, a specific group of people. It's obviously, we're gonna take school.
I think it's almost combined with the community education. I mean, that is our community.
Yeah,
People who live in campgrounds and the single access roads, they're all part of the community.
and BT alert does send out, have possible flooding notifications. So, yeah. I think that's okay. Recommend one.
I'll ask Sean about that. That's an ongoing thing. So the next step is, I gotta pull all this together and then we'll review it. And the idea is, sending it out for, surrounding towns to review state, like V-Trans, the river managers, the floodplain managers, and the stakeholders that we identified at the beginning of this process.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you have, shall we review this as a group, or do you want me to send it out once it's all compiled?
Well, like,
We should, once it's compiled, I mean, you should send it out to us, we'll
Yeah,
review it. We'll
And then
meet.
review it as a group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we'll
Yeah.
review it as a group
Yeah.
later.
Yep.
Sounds group.
What are you thinking for a timeline, Stephanie?
It's probably gonna be a month before I have this pulled together.
I think she wanted to schedule the next meeting June 4th, is that
Yeah.
correct?
yeah, not May 4th, June 4th.
Would that be enough time, June 4th? Or should we shoot towards the end of June?
I would say towards the end of June, if that's okay.
It's gonna be
Is that like a
town.
meeting reschedule?
Yeah.
I mean, if we
I
go
mean,
towards the end of
Maybe we
June,
just skip the June meeting and
Go to
plan on July.
which is July 4th, and then,
Oh,
Well-
really?
well,
Yeah,
because we meet the first week of the month,
well,
so-
first Wednesday of the month,
yeah.
usually, but what,
It would be Tuesday, July 2nd. I mean, if Wednesday, July 2nd would be,
So our next meeting is June 4th.
Yeah.
And then the next one is July 2nd.
Yeah.
So that could
we'll
work.
just skip June and go to July
Yeah.
2nd.
So that'll give
so-
me time to pull it together and then send it out. So you guys would have at least a week to review it.
Perfect.
yeah.
6 P.M.
Yes, same time, no same time.
I'm just the secretary, remember? I gotta know these things.
Ready?
Okay, so 10 minutes.
Okay, so no meeting next month. Next one will be in July.
Good. Any
Awesome.
questions? Any questions?
Well, I think we're good.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Have a good night.
You
Yeah,
too.
you too. Night.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Fran, I'm just counting you as part of this group now. I'm getting tired of